The book of Matthew, verse 17. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. So, hi everybody, this is Christian RPG Gamers. So some of this background footage, I think I was playing Final Fantasy XIV online, I think about 2 weeks ago. And I still gotta play more of it, right? I mean, in my opinion, MMOs are like forever games. So what I think I want to talk about in this video today is, I think the idea of having fun in like gaming and having fun in entertainment in general, and why I think you should focus on, I would say like more clean fun. Over prioritize having fun over, like pretty much a lot of this other kind of stuff that could be out there, and why fun trumps a bunch of the other stuff. Okay. I think that video games, this could be include, movies, television shows, video games, anime, all that kind of stuff, right? Or I'm sure there's more stuff out there, right? Books or whatever. Or playing a tabletop, like Dungeons and Dragons or something. I think having fun is a very important aspect to video games, and to storytelling, and to role playing and stuff. And I'm sure I think I made a video or two here or there in the past. I think in the past 2 or 3 months, I made a couple of videos talking about similar stuff. So, but I mean, I'll make another little video talking about it again. It's just another fresh one, right? I personally, I think that fun is the number one most important aspect towards all of this stuff at the end of the day. Because if you're not having fun, it's like, first of all, what are you even doing with this stuff in the first place? And it's like most of this stuff is never really gonna go anywhere. If you're playing a video game, it's like once you beat the game, it's like a self-contained world that eventually you beat the game, and then the game kind of just shuts down and it's done. And it's like you could have a mountain of money, you could have all these opportunities and things, but it's a self-contained world that will eventually come to an end. And I do think that, again, and I also want to put some kind of a Christian spin on this too, right? I do feel like the idea of having call it quote unquote clean fun though. It's like, I mean, I feel like you can have fun without having to be satanic at the same time. You don't have to have fun by going around and tormenting and ruining people's lives, or inflicting suffering and pain, and robbing innocent people blind, or murdering, or stealing, or lying to people blatantly, or just being malicious. I mean, if you're having fun hurting people, I mean, that's not really fun at that point. You're just being malicious. So trying to find some kind of, at least some kind of a higher morality or wholesomeness to it. But fun, I genuinely do think that, because here's another thing, a bunch of people in my life have always told me the same thing. I've met game masters, I've met a huge wide variety of people from a huge different backgrounds and places, and people that I've met, or people I've known, or I've shared experiences with. They could have been mentors. To be honest, maybe even a couple of them, they might have grown old. I haven't spoken to them. Maybe some of them have passed on. I don't know at this point, right? But a lot of mentors in my life, people I've known, even older family members. It's like fun should be your highest priority when it comes to, honestly, a lot of stuff in life. Especially if you're working a job or something, it is what it is, right? But when it comes to hobbies or or things that you're not necessarily going to be making money from, or it's not a business, just like, recreational, like, hobbies and stuff. I feel like you should probably try to find a way to prioritize, enjoyment and satisfaction and pleasure and happiness and having a good time and finding stress relief. My personal philosophy is, not at the expense of other people, but that I feel like should be one of your highest priorities. Also, as a Christian, in holiness, worshiping and glorifying and serving the Lord. So, again, if you can try to be somewhat moral about it or something too, then you can glorify God in heaven, in holiness. So there's that positive, right? But because, like, let's take a hypothetical example. So I'm playing Final Fantasy 14 online. It's like, there's going to be some other players around the world. Maybe you'll see them, maybe you won't. It's a lot of this stuff is kind of subjective. Another game that comes to my mind, again, the video game that always comes to my mind whenever I'm thinking of, like, RPGs and, like, a great story and, like, a well-written based world, is a game like The Witcher 3. And because some of these games are newer, I've played them more frequently, but that game is, like, it seems very well written. Or even, like, Kingdom Come Deliverance. It's a very well written world. They seem like very realistic worlds. Or even at times games like Skyrim. Because that world just, it feels alive. So it's like, you're walking around this world. Again, you can, so I know there's also, like, a canon version of a main story you can go through. There's lots of fun, lots of stuff you can do also. Like, you can walk around the map. You can jump up and down obstacles. And you can fight these little, like, what do you call it? There's little creatures and stuff around the map. Like, even here, you got these mushrooms and these little dinosaur things. I think there's, like, another player here, right? Walk around the map. You can pick up loot and fight stuff. Interact with the world. And, like, to be honest with somebody, I find that to be very fun. I really just enjoy this kind of stuff. Even this footage here. Now, the story, in my opinion, is also very important. But one of the things that I love to do most in video games is just grinding around. It's just grinding and kind of just, and maybe even, like, almost like goofing off in a sense. Like, there doesn't have to be always an end objective that I have to like anally, force myself. I have to do this objective. There has to be this end result. One of the reasons I love games like MMOs is they're basically like an infinite sized, and you really just can never beat this game. It's like they're probably gonna make another expansion, and you can always build a new character to start over again. So, like, in my opinion, like, MMOs are like a forever game. So it's like you fight a bunch of, like, mobs, or you fight some, like, you just kind of go through the game and you just play it for a long time until eventually maybe you get bored or sick of it or something, or you decide you want to take a break from the game, and eventually you just come back. You can just play the game, basically like an eternal forever game. And I personally do love that quite a bit. And I also, again, like, that is also the idea, in my opinion, of, choosing to prioritize having fun. Because if you're not having fun, then you're probably, to be honest, you're very unhappy, in my opinion. If you're trying to do what you think is, like, the good and the right and the holy thing to do, I do think that that is a worthwhile, pursuit. Even if you're not having the best possible time doing that, at least you're doing something moral. In holiness, you're glorifying God and serving Him with that. But if you're just, you're just trying to, I don't know, what ways you could just, I think a lot of this is a philosophy and, like, a mindset. Because I know there's a lot of people who, honestly, like, I feel like there is a lot of people who are very unhappy with like stuff like the video game industry and a lot of this stuff. And there is a lot of angry people and people who are just very bitter. And honestly, some people are just kind of malicious almost. Because what are some of the reasons behind that? Is because you're choosing not to have fun. You have an agenda, or you have some kind of a probably more selfish, dark purpose behind what you're doing. You're not trying to enjoy your experience. You have some kind of a ulterior motive or just something, like some kind of dark, selfish method behind it. And you're not there to have fun. You're there for, some kind of a selfish, dark reason. So it's like you're pursuing a very like, I don't know, maybe you just want to be like vindictive or bitter. Or maybe you even log into a game and you're just trying to be bitter. Okay, so yeah, and like I do feel like there is a lot of bitterness out there in the world. And I mean, I feel like one aspect is you do an action for the sake of doing an action. And like even if you go on places like, on social media, you got places like Reddit or X, or I mean, you could even be on like YouTube, and a lot of people, I feel like, or even going to the movie theater or something, right? Or going on like Netflix or something like that. A lot of people, I feel like, are just very unhappy with their experience. And one of the major reasons is because they have a bad mindset and a bad perspective of looking at what they're doing and like the reasons behind what they're doing and why. So again, I'll try to give some more. I mean, I know this isn't the most cohesive thing, right? I mean, most of my content I just kind of make on the fly. But I mean, that's just kind of my personality. So an example would be like in Dungeons and Dragons. A person prioritizing. Okay, what's a hypothetical example? So like, I could, as my character is like level 3 in like 5th edition or something, and I could pick a build, or I could pick, let's say I got my character leveled up and everything's done and good, right? I could pick, between multiple skills, or let's say I happen to get like a free skill, or I can work towards a free skill or something. So I could get abilities like, I mean, maybe my character has a certain background or a certain purpose and a reason for a character's existence. I mean, I could pick like, just give my character like a plus bonus in combat. Or maybe it's like I could give my character like some special super powered effect or something, or something very logical, or very like, I guess it helps you make a lot of extra money or something. I mean, you could choose to pick something like super practical and very strong. And that would make sense. But like, you also could have to come in with the mentality of a fun mentality, where maybe, maybe instead of picking, maybe your character is still like effective in the game, right? But you could pick a skill or a quality or a trait that would give you the ability to like role play and interact with the world. So maybe you pick like a dungeon delver, like, skill or something. That when you go to like dungeons, you'll get bonuses that you can find secret traps. You can be better at perception. You're better at like, lock picking, especially like in a very specific area that may not always be in the main point. So that could be fun, right? That would give you the ability to interact with this in the world more. Or you could pick like, maybe you get like an herbalism kit, and you have the ability to like, maybe you have the skill, or you pick up some new items or something. You could also like, role play and interact with the world, which I think would really greatly enhance your ability to experience the world more, even if it doesn't mechanically necessarily benefit you in like, a very practical, or even if it doesn't dramatically make it so that you could just defeat the enemies as easily. It would give you more of like an immersion capabilities. allow you to role play your character a little bit more. And again, it would give you the ability to like, interact with and, kind of feel and perceive and touch the world more. It's like if you can go out and pick herbs or, flowers, or, it's like you go out to the water and maybe, you and the game master and a couple other people when you're around, you can have some fun. And maybe you can have fun, but you can also be successful too. So it's like, and then maybe you can find ways to have other players in the team, help you out or like interact with them too. So it's like you're going out and you're picking flowers, and you can maybe go out and say, I had this, I want you all to go out and find me like specific like ingredients or something. Yeah, I think I just took a break when I was playing. Let me just move forward a little bit. Or it's like you give them all a little, assign them like a kind of a fun little mission. So like even in like, when you watch like an anime, for example, what was that, like AFK or something here? In a lot of animes or mangas, they have a lot of side stories and like side little fun adventures sometimes that go on. And to tell you the truth, it offers zero literal value to the main story, but all of those side adventures, if one's being real and honest with oneself, can be a lot of fun. They're not necessarily going to give you power-up abilities in the game, or you're not going to be able to defeat bosses easier, and it's not always necessarily going to like, make you some, legendary hero warrior, but it helps you to become a little bit more, it helps you to feel like the world's more alive. Or even in games like Skyrim, for example, right? Like you got like a lock-picking skill where you go out into like dungeons, or you go around the map and you find like, maybe you find a hidden door or something, and you open the door up with your lock-picking skill, and you find a whole bunch of fun potions or something, and it could just make your game really enjoyable. It makes you feel like the world's like really just alive and like radiant and bright. And it makes you feel like you want to keep playing the game, because you're adding a lot of fun to it. And like, even in games like, Baldur's Gate 3, for example, you could roll a d20, and you can succeed and you can fail. And I think, to be honest, in a lot of role-playing games, being able to fail, I also feel like it makes the game more fun, because it makes the game feel more alive. And also with the ability to lose and to fail or to suffer some kind of maybe not like a game-breaking consequence, but a role-playing consequence or something, I think that it makes the game more enjoyable. And because you're choosing to have fun. And being able to lose, it makes the world feel more real. And maybe it's like, the game doesn't have to punish you severely. And maybe it does have some story aspects to it or something, but like, or also, I would also argue, maybe consider, like, if next time you play like an RPG style game, maybe don't go out and try to meta your character to get the best net results. Maybe instead, try to think what your character would do in a situation, and maybe just let whatever's going to happen, and find the outcomes, and just experience the outcomes in a natural sense. And maybe you don't know what those consequences are going to be, but it will feel natural and it'll feel real, and to be honest, you're going to have probably a good time. And maybe it sucks, right? Maybe you fail. Maybe you fail a quest. And, it's like, instead, to be real with somebody, these worlds are not 100% like one-to-one real. Right? They're NPCs, right? But if it feels much more real, I think you're going to have a lot more pleasurable, enjoyable time. And like, maybe also you don't have to like put your you don't have to have your hands like gripped on your character's throat. Like, let your character grow kind of on their own and like live in their own natural sense, and you get to experience it with them. And like, obviously, since you're playing a game, you do have a level of control over your character in the story, but try to at least like minimize your excessive meta aspects. And I feel like you also, again, the less you try to restrain and control every single aspect of every single thing, like, you do in like a story. Or like, let's take another example. Like, you went to the movie theater, right? You're watching a movie, like, I don't know, like the Mission Impossible or something, or I don't know, the one with what's his face, the guy from Superman. And you were to go out, like, and watch that movie, and it's like maybe you don't have to control it, right? You can just kind of like release your control. And I think, to be honest with you, you'd have a much more good time. Just sort of it's like just let the story play out. You don't have to justify and rationalize everything in it. Just enjoy the story for the sake of the story. And I think you'll be much more happy. And just kind of like, just kind of like lose yourself in the story a little bit. Again, like, you don't have to like you don't have to be like crazy or insane either, I feel like, but just find some enjoyment. So yeah, I do feel like happiness, and like, happiness, to be honest, in my opinion, is also pretty subjective. But I feel like if you're losing yourself into this world and you become more immersed into it, or you're enjoying the story, and sometimes, like, again, you can just enjoy the story for the sake of enjoying the story. Like, maybe you don't have to get a reward for it. Like, the purpose of you going through the story isn't so that you can just make a whole giant bag of like gold coins, right? You go through, to be honest, it's nice when you get a reward. You're playing Dungeons and Dragons and your game master gives you a reward. That is amazing, right? But that shouldn't be like your priority. Your priority should just be to have a good time. And like, that is the reward in and of itself. That's the true reward. Is you get to go on an adventure and you get to have a great time. And the less you control all this stuff, the more you choose to have the mindset of kind of releasing, your, like, it's like, even in like, you play the video game like The Sims. It's like the characters sometimes, if your character's tense, they feel like, they feel like some kind of a force is controlling every single thing they're doing. And like, it's like, no, because it's like you, the character. It's like you want your character to sit there and just work all day to make that money. And like, the character in the world's like, I just want to have some fun or find some stress relief. And it's like, like, they're very tense and they're upset. They walk over and they kick the garbage over or something because they're just mad because they feel like, because someone's controlling everything they're doing. And I feel like sometimes that is what a lot of people do, is they want to control everything. And controlling every little itty-bitty detail of every little thing makes you have a very miserable, unhappy time. And I do think that having some control over things is healthy also, but it's like, okay, let's just take another example. So, I do talk about myself a little bit, but I'm talking about more like an intellectual sense. So, I've been going through, and I wanted to start watching more of the Elder Scrolls Online, like, the story quest, for example. Now, I own the game, and I do sometimes, I do enjoy playing it, right? But sometimes I just like to just sit down and just, watch a story from the beginning to the end. So I've been trying to have this mindset and mentality of just going in and just, maybe I'll watch like a person who's on like YouTube or something. I make some YouTube videos myself, but I may watch a person play the game, and there's a fun time to it. You just kind of go in, and then like you have to try to have like, sow a seed in your mind, or in worship, like the Holy Spirit, and just choose to sow a seed of having fun. Or maybe you want to learn something, or you want to seek a higher moral purpose, or you just want to have a good time. Lose yourself into the story, lose yourself into the world, become a little bit more immersed. Maybe kind of like, basically like pretend that like, this world's real. Kind of pull the wool over your eyes a little bit. Kind of wash yourself in this entertainment, and just, let some of the problems of this world just kind of fade away for a small period of time. And it can be really satisfying. And it's fun. It's enjoyable. You get a lot of experience. There's a lot of happiness to it. And sometimes, all your problems in life, they just temporarily go away. And like, you don't, again, you just choose to have fun. And honestly, you choose to have fun, and just like whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. And it's okay if the bad consequences are the good consequences, and it's okay whatever's gonna be is gonna be, right? And I think that's a good time. And like, I was watching, I think this guy called Game Oldie Dan. He was playing through. I think I watched some of the videos from, like, I think the first ones I've watched recently is from like the Breton. There's a whole kind of like the British Breton people. I watched the intro, and I watched some of the main ones. I think I watched some of the extra ones too. And pretty much finished the main quest. So like, I mean, I enjoyed this little adventure. He went on there, and I kind of hang out with him a little bit. This video is probably like 3 years old. I was watching him from a different person. I can't remember this person's name. Here. Like 9 years. This is like 9 years ago, but he was playing through the Orzammar, so some like the half-orc people. I wanted to start from the beginning if I was going to watch him, I thought. So I was watching someone from this guy's video, and like, to tell you the truth, like, I had a pretty good time, and I felt like the world was very immersive, and it was just a good experience overall. So I was having a good time, right? I think I went through the first like 3 episodes, and it's like, I had a good time. I think he explored the world of Orzammar, and he went through some of the side quests and just explored the map. And honestly, I had a pretty good time. He gave some of his thoughts on it, or he showed showed some of the story aspects, and I felt pretty immersed, and I felt pretty happy overall. And like, again, I didn't have to control the story. I don't have to control everything in it. I don't have to agree with everything in it either. You can just have a good time, and just just relinquish your control, right? Yeah, I mean, I honestly subscribe to like hundreds of people. I think this is just one of my tools. Here's this other guy, right? He mostly plays MMOs. Again, like, it was a lot of fun. I'm be real. Oh yeah, it's starting to rain outside, so you might hear a little bit of some like tapping on the glass or something. I'm gonna probably end this here though soon. Yeah. So overall, I feel like just choose if you really had to choose between multiple things, choose fun over being super serious or whatever, or it's like you want a massive in-game advantage. Just choose to have fun instead. If you can't go wrong, because like, you're not going to keep any of the resources in this game when you're done with it, and being super serious, or like being a quote unquote like being like a dick or something, right? Just treating people like garbage, being self-serving or evil or something. It's not going to do you any good in the long term. I would say just choose to have fun. Prioritize fun, and as a Christian, right? I mean, I do feel like as a Christian, one of the best sources of entertainment is just to have clean, wholesome, like normal, vanilla, neutral, good time, or just like clean, wholesome content. Also in holiness, just choose to glorify God with it. So it's like, choose to have a fun time, and like maybe make your choices as if you were the character, and try to play within like some of the canonized version of the story. I understand that there's nothing wrong with your character having like tons of resources, or like and money and experience and levels and stuff, or massive equipment and bonuses and stuff, but maybe consider just choosing to abstain from some of those things, especially during the main story. Like playing The Witcher 3, like I understand that, and this is something I need to work on myself more. I understand that you could level up 7 extra levels and come in and be fully prepared and equipped for every situation, to give yourself a huge in-game advantage. But an in-game advantage doesn't mean you're going to have a good time. Maybe you could choose to purposely limit yourself on some levels, maybe you don't have to come in with as much money, or you maybe don't have to come in with as much levels or stuff or whatever, because it's going to make the game too easy, and it's going to feel unfair and unbalanced. It's going to be unbalanced. It's not going to be very realistic. Just maybe choose to, you can slowly just kind of detach yourself a little bit, and just, you can become more immersed. You're playing Kingdom Come Deliverance. It's like, it's like, I feel like if you're playing you try to follow the game more like, what do you call it, quote unquote, like canonically. You're playing it within like the vanilla core story. I feel like you're going to have a far better time not being so prepared and so powerful. Maybe just choose to abstain from a little bit of your power. And like abstain from some of these things, and just kind of let your character be more within the current level set, or within maybe your character is going to be at a slight disadvantage on some of these small things, but I feel like the world's going to feel more alive, and you're going to have a better time, because sometimes having some rules can make your life better. So it's like you're playing Kingdom Come Deliverance, and like, you're doing the main story quest, and you're on like you're on one of the smaller main story quests, and it's like you have like 20 strength or something, and you're going out and you're fighting against like the main story, and you have like 100,000 money, and you're super overpowered, and you have all this stuff, and you have all the skills and all these things, and you've done everything in the game. It's like you're gonna come to the main story, and it's like it's not gonna feel immersive. It's not going to feel realistic. Or it's like, and like also, I feel like you can also choose to, maybe you don't have to look every single thing online up. And like, you can just choose not to know every single aspect of the world. You don't have to have the whole world revealed to you. You don't have to also know every single thing and all the secrets and all the places where you can go to get all the bonuses and the power-ups. Maybe you just explore the map, and you just happen to, get some of these advantages or something. You find them, right? Or like even going into side quests and stuff. Again, like you can just, I don't know, like what's the best way I'm trying to say? Like, you can just do some side quests or something along with your main story, and maybe you stumble into them, and like I feel like there's also nothing wrong with looking up information. If you want a very specific thing for a very specific reason, I feel like there is nothing wrong at the same time with like looking up a specific detail. But you got to be careful. Otherwise, you're not prioritizing fun. You're prioritizing hyper game mechanics and huge advantages and stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna end this here. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below about all your thoughts on this stuff. What do you think about having fun? I would just say just try to have more fun. Because people who have fun are going to be a winner at the end of the day. All right, thanks for watching. God bless.